You're tired, not just physically tired, soul tired, tired from trying so hard, tired from constantly proving yourself, tired from explaining your choices, defending your boundaries, and carrying weight that's crushing you. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that this exhaustion was what faithfulness looked like. But what if I told you that Jesus is giving you permission, right now, to stop striving like your worth depends on your performance, to stop explaining yourself like you owe everyone an account of your life, to stop carrying burdens alone that were never meant to be carried solo. This isn't about giving up or being lazy. This is about finally understanding what Jesus meant when he said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." You've been living under a heavy yoke that he never placed on you, a yoke of performance, approval-seeking, and self-sufficiency that's been slowly breaking you. Today, Jesus is speaking 3 specific permissions over your life. 3 invitations to lay down what you've been carrying. 3 freedoms you've been waiting for someone to grant you. And by the end, you'll understand why the exhaustion you feel isn't a sign of weak faith. It's proof you've been carrying what only he was meant to carry. Stay with me through all 3 permissions. They build on each other in a way that will set you completely free. Let me start by addressing something most Christian teaching gets wrong: the glorification of exhaustion. We've been taught that being tired means we're faithful. That burnout is a badge of honor. That if we're not constantly doing, proving, achieving, and pushing, we must not really trust God. We've confused spiritual maturity with spiritual exhaustion. But Jesus never said, "Come to me if you want to be more tired." He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus says, you can stop performing. Stop trying to earn what I've already given you. Stop striving to prove your worth when I've already declared it. Here's what striving looks like in your daily life. You wake up already behind, already feeling like you're not doing enough. You say yes to things you want to say no to because you're afraid of disappointing people. You work harder than necessary because rest feels like failure. You compare your progress to others and always come up short. You're constantly trying to be more, do more, achieve more, because somewhere deep inside, you believe your value is in your productivity. This is exhausting because it's unsustainable. You're running a race with no finish line, trying to reach a standard that keeps moving further away. But here's what Jesus wants you to understand. He's not waiting for you to do more before he loves you more. His love isn't a reward for your performance. It's the foundation everything else is built on. You don't have to strive for what's already yours. This permission to stop striving connects directly to the 3rd permission in a profound way. When you see how they work together, you'll understand why you felt so alone in your efforts. Have you been running yourself into the ground trying to earn approval that was already given? Have you been striving to become worthy when Jesus already declared you worthy through his sacrifice, not your success? Within the next week, Jesus is going to show you areas where you've been striving unnecessarily. You'll notice the pattern, trying to earn what's already been freely given. Pay attention to those moments. That's him gently revealing where you can finally rest. If you've been striving to earn love, approval, or worthiness that's already yours in Christ, type, "I can rest," in the comments. Let's declare this freedom together. Now we move to the 2nd permission, and this one might be even more freeing than the first. The 2nd permission, you can stop explaining. Jesus says, you can stop defending your choices. Stop justifying your boundaries. Stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided to misunderstand you. Think about how much energy you spend explaining yourself. Explaining why you need rest. Why you said no. Why you made that decision. Why you changed your mind. Why you have that boundary. Why you're not like you used to be. Why you're choosing differently than they would choose. You're constantly giving accounts of your life to people who didn't appoint themselves judge and jury. yet somehow you've accepted their courtroom. Here's the truth. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Your boundaries don't require a defense. Your choices don't need justification to people who aren't walking your journey. Your growth doesn't need approval from those who liked you better when you were smaller. Jesus never explained himself to everyone. When they questioned him, sometimes he answered. Often, he didn't. He knew that some people weren't asking to understand, they were asking to undermine. And he didn't waste his energy performing for their approval. You've been exhausting yourself trying to make people understand who were never trying to understand in the first place. They were trying to control, to judge, to keep you in the box that made them comfortable. But here's what Jesus is telling you. Their understanding isn't required for your freedom. Their approval isn't necessary for your peace. Their acceptance isn't a prerequisite for your obedience to what I've called you to. Have you been over-explaining your life to people who aren't genuinely interested in understanding? Have you been trying to convince people to support decisions that only needed to be made between you and God? This freedom from explaining is preparing you for something specific Jesus is about to ask of you. We'll understand exactly what when we explore how all three permissions create a new way of living. Here's what's going to happen. Within the next 2 weeks, you're going to face a situation where your old pattern would have been to explain, justify, and defend. But this time, you're going to feel peace about simply being, about letting your life speak for itself, about trusting God with others' opinions. That's Jesus honoring your choice to stop performing. Now we come to the third and most powerful permission, the one that changes everything about how you carry life's weight. Jesus says, you can stop pretending you're strong enough to handle everything by yourself. Stop acting like asking for help is weakness. Stop carrying burdens I specifically said I would carry with you. Here's the lie you've believed. That being a strong Christian means handling everything alone. That if you need help, you lack faith. That if you can't manage it all, you're failing. That asking for support is admitting defeat. So you've been carrying grief alone, carrying financial stress alone, carrying relationship problems alone, carrying work pressure alone, carrying health concerns alone, carrying emotional pain alone, all while smiling, saying, I'm fine, and pretending the weight isn't crushing you. But Jesus never said, take my yoke upon you and carry it by yourself. He said, take my yoke upon you, which means he's carrying it with you. A yoke is for two. It's designed for shared weight. The burden is light because you're not meant to carry it solo. And here's where everything connects. Are you ready? Remember when I said the permission to stop striving connects to this third permission? Here's how. You've been striving so hard because you've been carrying everything alone. You thought that's what faith looked like, independent, self-sufficient, never needing anyone. But that's not faith. That's pride disguised as strength. The reason you're exhausted isn't because God gave you too much. It's because you've been trying to carry by yourself what He designed to be carried together. With Him, with others He's placed in your life. The weight was never meant for solo carrying. And that freedom from explaining, it's connected too. You've been over-explaining yourself because you've been alone. When you're carrying weight by yourself, you feel the need to justify why you're struggling, why you need help, why you can't do it all. But when you accept that you were never meant to carry it alone, you stop needing to explain the weight. Do you see it now? The striving, the explaining, the solo carrying, they're all connected. They're all rooted in the same lie, that your value is in your independence, your strength is in not needing anyone, and your worthiness is in how much you can handle alone. But Jesus is dismantling that entire system. He's saying, your value is in being my beloved, not in your performance. Your strength is in admitting weakness and receiving my help. Your worthiness was settled on the cross. You don't have to prove anything. Within the next 30 days, you're going to face a situation where you have a choice. Carry it alone like you always have, or actually let Jesus and others help you. That moment will be your test, not a test of strength, but a test of trust. Will you trust that accepting help doesn't diminish you? Will you believe that shared weight is lighter weight? Let's bring all three permissions together so you understand how to actually live this out. Permission 1 *, stop striving. Your worth isn't in your performance. Permission 2 *, stop explaining. Their understanding isn't required for your freedom. Permission 3 * stop carrying it alone. Shared weight is what Jesus designed. Here's how they work together to create a completely new way of living. When you stop striving, you have energy available to actually live instead of just surviving. When you stop explaining, you reclaim the energy you've been wasting on people who weren't really listening. When you stop carrying alone, you discover that the Christian life was never meant to be a solo journey. Here's your practical guidance. For stopping the striving *, identify one area where you've been trying to earn what's already yours. Maybe it's God's love through more prayer or service. Maybe it's others' approval through performance. Name it. Then consciously choose rest in that area this week. Not laziness, but intentional rest in the truth that you're already enough. For stopping the explaining *, the next time you feel the urge to over-explain yourself, pause. Ask, does this person genuinely need this information, or am I performing for their approval? If it's the latter, simply don't. Say what needs to be said, then let it be. Your life will speak louder than your explanations ever could. For stopping the solo carrying *, write down what you're currently carrying, all of it. Then circle the things Jesus specifically said he'd carry: your anxiety, your burdens, your future. Give those to him in prayer, not just verbally, but actually release your grip on them. Then underline the things that need human help, practical support, emotional processing, wisdom. Identify one person to ask for help this week. Here's what's going to happen. As you implement these three permissions, people will notice you're different. Some will be confused, you're not performing for them anymore. Some will be upset, you're not explaining yourself to them anymore. Some will be surprised, you're asking for help. Let them feel what they feel. You're not responsible for their comfort with your freedom. You're only responsible for your obedience to what Jesus is inviting you into. By February or March, you'll look back at this season and realize it was the turning point. The moment you stopped living under the heavy yoke you created and started living under the easy yoke Jesus offers. The moment you traded exhaustion for rest, performance for presence, and isolation for community. Before we close, I need you to hear this one more time, because the enemy will try to convince you that this freedom is somehow wrong. Jesus is giving you permission to stop striving, not because effort doesn't matter, but because your worth isn't in your productivity. Jesus is giving you permission to stop explaining, not because communication doesn't matter, but because their understanding isn't required for your obedience. Jesus is giving you permission to stop carrying alone, not because independence doesn't have value, but because isolation was never his design. The exhaustion you've been carrying isn't holy. It's not a sign of faithfulness. It's a sign that you've been living under a yoke Jesus never gave you, a yoke of performance, approval-seeking, and self-sufficiency. But today, he's offering you a different yoke, an easy one, a light one, a shared one. You don't have to earn his love. You already have it. You don't have to explain your life. You only answer to him. You don't have to carry it alone. He's right there with you. This is your invitation to rest. Not the rest of doing nothing, but the rest of knowing you're already enough. The rest of living from approval instead of for approval. The rest of shared weight instead of crushing isolation. Now, 3 things before you go. First, subscribe to this channel. More messages about living in God's grace, releasing performance mentality, and embracing authentic faith are coming. You'll need these reminders as you walk out this new freedom. Second, leave a comment. Tell me which of the 3 permissions hit you hardest, or simply share what you're feeling right now. Your testimony helps others who are exhausted from striving, explaining, and carrying alone feel less isolated. Third, if this message gave you permission you've been desperately needing, click that like button. It's your way of saying, I receive this freedom, and it helps this reach others who are crushing themselves under weight Jesus never intended them to carry. Here's my final word. The life Jesus offers isn't a life of constant striving, endless explaining, and solo carrying. It's a life of rest in His finished work, confidence in His approval, and shared weight with Him and others. You've been trying so hard for so long, and Jesus is looking at you with such love, saying, you can stop now. I've got this. I've got you. And you were never meant to do this alone. Stop striving. You're already loved. Stop explaining. You're already free. Stop carrying alone. I'm right here. Rest, beloved.